Van Eaton went down on my property and took a bulldozer and dozed my spring and tore it all up. And then him and the Yateses owned the house where the Duvals were living. And so they all come against me with the same lawyer, the same judge, and the lawyer was the city attorney, and it was all conflict of interest, and because they all worked for the police department or sheriff's department or whatever, the police department. So the judge and the attorney and all of them had favoritism with them. So it was all conflict of interest, bias, partiality, in political favoritism, and anyway, I had a lawyer and I had to fire her because she said it was too much for her. So anyway, I had to fire her after about 7 years, and so they had the surveyor to come and survey my land that was already surveyed, and so anyway, he was going to try to put the survey over to make up for what the policeman had done damage to my property, and he was just going to give him the property that he damaged. And this is how they do stuff. So I see how this is going to all start working for me. So then it just started getting worse and worse, and then Duval started getting worse about trying to take my property over there since he's seen that the judge is going to do this for the police officers, and he thinks he's going to get adverse possession over here on the other land. So he starts getting worse about being more verbal, more abusive, and trespassing, and coming over and mowing, and he's just starting to get real pushy and just trying to take over there, just like the police did down at my other property. And nobody would help me. Every time I tried to get help, it just got worse and worse. And then eventually it got where the sheriff's department started taking their side. And I didn't even matter anymore. And they even tried to get me off my property. And a policeman from Grant came down after he had talked to Chuck Van Eaton. He came down and told me to leave my property, and told me if I did not leave my property, he was going to get DHR after my sister. And he said, he didn't even have jurisdiction, and he knew he didn't have jurisdiction. But this is the kind of stuff that I go through. Chuck Van Eaton or Chris Duval has to do is just call the sheriff's department in Gunnersville over in Marshall County, and they just come right out, and whatever they say is what they hearsay. That's what they go on, and so it's getting where I couldn't even go on my property anywhere, and I was having to live with sheets over my windows and everything, and over the doors, because I was scared to even get outside because of all that was going on, and because I thought, there's no telling what's going to happen, because it was getting more and more to the point where the sheriff's department was taking his side, and he didn't even own the property. He didn't even own the house he was living in, but yet he had all this control over the sheriff's department. And he could say all these verbal accusations, and they would believe anything that he said, and they would just point their finger at me and tell me to get off my property. And like I was a little kid or something, like I didn't even belong on my own property, and threatened me. And 2 policemen came down, 2 sheriffs from the sheriff's department came down, and they started using God's name in vain. And my sister was with me, and my friend was with me.
What was their names, do you know?
It was Spears and Smith. And they were cussing and using God's name in vain. And my sister got sick after that. There was 2 of them on one side of my truck, and Trammell from the Grant Police Department was on the other side. And they were just screaming at us to get off the property and don't ever come back. And my sister got sick. When we finally got home, after all that, she got sick, and she had problems with her kidneys for a month after that. And but at that point in time, they were going to try to run over me with a golf cart, and they said, "We'll just run over the ditch." That's what they were saying. But then they turned this around later on and used it for the first arrest that they did on me. And they said that I tried to run down his children and said ugly words to his children, and I didn't even see his children. And that's the first arrest that they used. He turned, Chris Duval used this against me, saying that I tried to run his children down with my truck. And actually what happened was him and his friend tried to run over me with this golf cart gator thing, and they were calling me a bitch. And anyway, my sister got sick after that, and that was the first arrest. That's what they used for the first arrest. But anyway, because of all the stuff going on with Chuck Van Eaton and Chris Duval and them trying to take my property, I was trying to keep everything up and keep all these court things up, and it was costing money. And so anyway, I fell a little bit behind on my payment, but I caught it right up. And Brenda Barnes at the bank foreclosed on me. And but my payments were all caught up. She took all my payments, and all of January. I made extra payments in January to catch it up, and then I made another one in January that she took. I made 4 in January, and another 2, and then on each of the properties, land and the car. And then I made more payments in February. And she was taking the payments all along, but then she did the foreclosure. And it was an illegal foreclosure because Judge Jolly had no jurisdiction over the foreclosure because he had no assignment, he had no proof of the debt, he had no proof that the payments were behind, and she was police officer of Grant's sister, so it was all conflict of interest because he was biased and partial, and it all showed just political favoritism, and he didn't even give me a 5-day hearing. They came and gave me a summons on Thursday afternoon about after 5 o'clock, and I was supposed to be in the hearing the next day, so I had no time to get any kind of defense made for myself, and I was filing a federal lawsuit in Birmingham the next day, and they all knew this, and that's why they was trying to push it through so fast. And during the foreclosure, Jones, the attorney for Brenda Barnes, he kept screaming he wasn't going to stop it no matter what. There was no way. He was denying that there was a federal lawsuit in Birmingham, and I had the paperwork in my hand showing everybody that there was a federal lawsuit. And he kept denying it and kept denying it that there was. And he went ahead with the foreclosure, illegal foreclosure sale. And he said in the documents that he was my attorney also, as well as her attorney. And that was false. But anyway, the Judge Jolly, did a writ of seizure and had the foreclosure sale illegally, and he illegally sent the sheriff's department out, and they, while I was going to the doctor's office, they'd been watching my house, and while I was going to the doctor's office to take my sister, they broke and entered, cut the chain on my gate, and went in and stole my car, and it was stolen because the payment was made up on it, and they stole the car, and right now the car is stolen. And I had insurance, disability insurance on that car, whereas if it did happen that I couldn't make these payments, it's supposed to kick in and pay the payments on this. And also because she puts the land and the car together, it would also pay my land payment. And when I tried to call up there and ask about it, they wouldn't tell me nothing. And they would just blow me off and say, oh, the girl's not here today, she's out today, she's not here anymore, or you'll have to get in touch with a lawyer and all this stuff. And so anyway, that's another thing that I had insurance on my car and stuff, and they wouldn't give me any kind of information to know how to file for that. But anyway, my payments was made up anyway, but because I got checks where she cashed them all. And but anyway, it just got worse and worse. And then